Battle on the Hudson, the Devils, the Rangers, and the NHL's greatest series ever. Of course, talking about that 7-game series in 1994, after which the Rangers would win their first cup in a long, long time. And Tim, thanks a lot for this. I mean, we kind of relived that series. Well, we did in the playoffs, certainly, and the Devils taking the Kings to 6 games in the Stanley Cup final. But, I mean, that will go down as one of the best series in the history of the NHL.
There's no question. There's no question. Thanks for having me. Yeah, we never, when we started out on this journey, we certainly never thought, we knew the Rangers would be really, really good, and we knew the Devils were kind of just there this year. We never thought that both of them would end up in the conference finals. And certainly, it tried to be almost as dramatic and ended in an overtime game. But certainly, it allowed everyone to harken back to that spring of 1994, certainly in this area where hearts were captured, and just the series had just about everything. And while it's, the title is certainly up for discussion, it's the title and nothing more than that. There's certainly some great series out there that can certainly contend with it. It is one of the most memorable, and certainly we captured that in this book.
Yeah, and it was kind of an interesting time for both clubs. Obviously, the Rangers won their first cup in a long time, but the Devils would come back and really turn into a dynasty after losing that series. So it was kind of a pivotal moment for both teams, and obviously the Rangers haven't won a cup since, and seemed like they had a pretty good shot this season, finishing first in the Eastern Conference. But for both teams, it was kind of a tipping point. It's interesting to see a team like the Devils fall short in such a dramatic way in a Game 7 in a heartbreaking fashion when Mark Messier guarantees victory, scores a hat trick, and they knock off the Devils, and they come back and win, 3 cups in the next 4 years?
They won the next one absolutely in 95, but it actually took them 9 years to win all those 3.
Okay.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, it's the tale of 2 different stories, 2 different franchises from 6 miles apart from each other in 2 different states, and really that's the basis for the book is the identity that the Devils were searching for, that the Rangers already had, and one team that absolutely had to win that cup right then and there, or else the team would likely have been broken up, and the other one who was kind of just building and didn't know any better. But there was that time, absolutely, where the Devils quite could have gone either way. I think Ken Danico and Martin Brodeur talk in the book most passionately about that time, where absolutely they walk away from that toughest loss that most of them will ever have in their careers in Game 7 and double overtime to their biggest rival after being up 3-2, after seeing Messier guarantee Game 6's victory. And they could have gone a lot of different ways. And then all of a sudden the lockout comes. There's some people who are unhappy. There were some free agents. Scott Stevens could have walked away that offseason and didn't. So there was a very tenuous time to be in there. But one of the anecdotes in the book that comes out of that offseason is that was the lockout of 94, 95. The season was shortened, and a lot of people think that helped the Devils because they were a slower team, a neutral zone traffic team, and were able to win a cup because of that. One of the things that was discovered through the book, and Lou Lamoriello, the GM, probably would have got in trouble for it right now, is that the Devils actually, most of the Devils stayed in New Jersey, did not go home to Canada and overseas, and for their residences throughout North America in the offseason. That loss kind of inspired them to stick around and work out, and even when they were locked out, and they shouldn't have been working out together, Lou Lamoriello secretly plotted out some workouts so the team could stay together and keep their focus. Of course, it didn't really help. Beginning of the season, they actually ended up starting out very, very slowly, but turned it on just in time for the playoffs in 95 and went on a pretty impressive run when they ended up sweeping the Red Wings in 95.
Yeah, that's interesting that Lou Lamoriello, that information would come out. Has there ever been any talk of the NHL retroactively punishing him and the Devils?
It never came out to me. Interestingly enough, so many of the Devils out that team of that era were very open and honest in this book. But Claude Lemieux was the one who talked about that open and freely. And one of the leaders on the team, actually the player who would go out to win the Conn Smythe the next year in '95. He was the one that spoke highly of that time about whether they were breaking the rules or not. His quote was, "Whether the will, Lou will find a way," and he certainly did.
Yeah, certainly. As we talked to Tim Sullivan of the Associated Press, his book on the market right now. You can go check it out at Amazon.com or wherever you go to buy books. Battle on the Hudson, the Devils, the Rangers, and the NHL's greatest series ever. Talking about the 1994 series between the Rangers and Devils, and after which the Rangers would go on to win the Stanley Cup. And the rivalry kind of got a little interesting this year at the draft, as Stephane Matteau, he scored the goal in double overtime in Game 7 to pick up a win for the Rangers. His son, Stefan, was drafted by the Devils 29th overall, and I know they're not going to shy away from the name Matteau, and I'm sure that didn't have any impact on where they took him, but it is kind of interesting that he ends up with the Devils after all these years.
There's no question that the irony is amazing. Not only did they end up playing each other this year, and next thing you know, 3 weeks later, Stefan gets kicked by the Devils, and Stephane, his father, actually wrote the foreword for this book. So he's been a very, very big part of this book, and one of the more memorable players in that series, and certainly one of the more quotable ones. A very, very good man off the ice as well. And I remember talking to him. We wrote this forward together just before Stephane was about to play the alumni game between the Rangers and Flyers at the Winter Classic this year, and he was texting his son, who was preparing for a game against the University of Wisconsin with the U.S. developmental team, and it was one of these years where Stephane followed his son all the way throughout, knew what was going to happen, but I think the way the draft struck down, and when the order was established, it looked very much like he was going to fall to the Rangers, and he did. Little did anyone know that the Rangers would actually pass on him, and then Lou could not pass up on a talent that's going to be able to force a role to that organization for sure. But there's no question you go to either one of these two arenas throughout this rivalry, and you see red, white, and blue jerseys with the name Matteau on it. I think it's going to be very, very ironic and amazing to see black and red jerseys with the same name on it 18 years later.
Yeah, very bizarre, to be sure. And when you talk about the rivalry between the players, and obviously there has been one for a long period of time, the fans as well, a big rivalry. Is there a sense, I mean, from an outsider here in Canada, in Toronto, it kind of looks like it's a little brother, big brother situation where you got the Rangers playing in Manhattan at the world's most famous arena, MSG, and then across the river there you got the Devils. I mean, is there that sense of kind of an inferiority complex for the Devils, and they always want to show the Rangers fans at least that they're legit?
There's no question. I mean, that is a complex that'll never go away. Certainly what happened a month ago certainly helped. And I think, Coach Pete DeBoer got up at the press conference after Adam Henrique won the series for them at home and said there's only one person who wants to beat the Rangers more than Martin Brodeur, and that's Lou Lamoriello. And certainly those two kind of personify that complex. Not that they're afraid of it, not that there's something there they don't want to talk about, but they've been around the franchise long enough, they played in this series and this rivalry long enough to know who they are as opposed to who the Rangers are. Here's our fan base of an original 6 team who very much still is a regional team, even though the Devils are right next door and the Islanders not far behind and have been for 30 and 40 years respectively. There's no question that the Rangers is a family tradition passed down from grandfather to father to son, and the Devils are getting there with that, but certainly there's plenty of people still very passionate hockey fans in New Jersey that are still Ranger fans. There's almost no getting around that. But certainly, for 18 years, even though they played each other another times in the playoffs, and the Devils actually won a series in 2004, 2006, I'm sorry, the passion and pride of Ranger fans kind of overrules everything else. But the Devils are getting there. This win certainly helps that. And if nothing else, it allows the Ranger fans to be quiet for the offseason just a little bit. That means a ton to Devils fans. But that's really another one of the nucleuses of the book is that that complex, and here came the Devils in 1982, and they had to, get permission from the Rangers in the league just to take up residence where they did, and they knew from Dr. John McMullen, the original owner, on down, that it was going to be a battle. It still is today, but certainly that win last month will definitely help that complex.
Yeah, it certainly did, and it's going to be an interesting offseason, especially for the New Jersey Devils. A couple of key free agents could be on the move, and Zach Parise and Martin Brodeur. We'll have to see how that plays out for the Devils, but hopefully we can get another series between these two teams come next year's playoffs. Tim, thanks a lot for this.
Thank you for having me.
That's Tim Sullivan of the Associated Press. His book on stands right now, Battle on the Hudson, the Devils, the Rangers, and the NHL's greatest series ever. When we come back, I'm going to talk to Ian Harris